The sound of the front door closing behind me was almost deafening. It echoed through the empty house, a house that had once been full of laughter, arguments, and the comforting sounds of family. But now, all I could hear was the deafening silence. I took a deep breath, my fingers gripping the handle of the bag I'd packed earlier. I was leaving for good. For years I had struggled with the weight of my family's betrayal, but I never thought I'd actually leave. There were moments when I thought things might get better, that somehow my family would finally see the truth. But I was wrong. I had tried for so long to hold on to something that no longer existed. My mother, my father, my sister, none of them ever believed me. I stepped into my car and slammed the door shut, the sound echoing in the stillness of the night. I didn't look back. I couldn't. For years I had lived with the pain, the confusion, and the anger, all because of the lies Katie spread. Katie, my own sister, had destroyed my life with nothing but jealousy and spite. But now, I was leaving it all behind. I had no more strength to fight, no more desire to make them understand. They had chosen Katie over me, and I could never forgive them for that. As I drove through the empty streets, my mind raced. How had it come to this? How had everything gone so wrong? When I first discovered what Katie had done, I was in shock. How could she lie about me like that? How could she spread rumors about drugs and prostitution, things that weren't even close to the truth? It hurt more than I could express. My own family, the people I trusted most, believed her. They didn't even question her lies. I thought about Chris, my ex. He had been with me when everything started falling apart. He knew what had happened. He knew what Katie had said about me. But he didn't say anything. He didn't defend me, didn't speak up when he should have. I remember how guilty he looked when he finally admitted the truth. It was all lies, he had said, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. Katie had always been jealous of me. She never liked that I was strong, independent, and put together. She wanted attention, and when she couldn't get it, she turned everyone against me. She made sure to paint me as the villain in our family's story. She was clever, manipulative, and knew exactly how to play people. And my parents, they had believed her. They had let her destroy me. I had always wondered why Chris never said anything sooner. Why hadn't he spoken up when Katie's lies first started? It could have saved me years of pain. I had lost everything because of her. My family, my job, my sense of self. But when Chris confessed the truth, it was too late. The damage had already been done. The anger I felt in that moment was overwhelming. I didn't know how to process it. I had spent years blaming myself, questioning everything I knew about my family, and now the truth was out. But it didn't bring me any peace. Instead, it only made the wounds I had buried so deep in my heart ache even more. I thought I would feel better once I knew the truth, but I didn't. I was still broken. I had lost years of my life to Katie's lies. My family had turned their backs on me, and now they expected me to just forgive and forget? It wasn't that easy. I found a new job in sales, a fresh start in a new city, far away from the people who had abandoned me. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I worked hard, built new relationships, and started to believe in myself again. But even though I was getting better, there was always a piece of me that longed for my family. I missed them in a way I couldn't explain. There was a hole in my heart that I couldn't fill. And then, Paul came into my life. He didn't know anything about my past, about the pain I had suffered. When we met, he just saw me for who I was in that moment. He didn't ask about my family, my history, or my scars. He accepted me for who I was, no questions asked. He made me feel seen, valued, and understood. It was the first time in years that I felt truly loved. 2 years later, Paul proposed, It was simple, intimate, and everything I wanted. I had spent so long living in the shadow of my past, but now I was looking forward to a future. A future with someone who cared about me, who loved me despite everything I had been through. But the peace I had found was about to be tested. Just as we were starting to make wedding plans, I received an email from my mother. My heart stopped when I saw her name in my inbox. I hadn't heard from her in years, not since I had cut all ties with her and the rest of the family. I had moved on, or at least I had tried to. I opened the email slowly, my hands trembling as I read her words. She apologized for everything, for choosing Katie over me, for not believing me when I needed her most. She even mentioned that she had heard I was getting married and wanted to see me as a bride. She begged for a chance to meet up, to make amends. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to scream at her for abandoning me when I needed her the most. But another part of me, the part I tried so hard to bury, longed for the mother I had lost. I had spent years building a new life, but the thought of her wanting to be a part of it again threw me off balance. That night, I talked to Paul about the email. I told him about Katie, about my mother, and how they had torn my life apart. He listened quietly, his face filled with concern. But he didn't push me to make a decision. He simply said, "You don't owe them anything. You don't have to forgive them if you're not ready." I wasn't ready. I couldn't forgive them. I had built a life without them, and I wasn't sure I wanted them back in it. But a part of me felt guilty. Could I really shut them out forever? Was I being too harsh? After a week of thinking, I responded to my mother's email. I told her that while I appreciated her apology, the wounds were too deep. I wasn't ready to go back to how things were. But I told her that if she understood that our relationship would be different, that I was willing to invite her to my wedding. However, I made it clear that Katie and Ben would not be welcome. I couldn't bring myself to forgive Katie, not after everything she had done. A few days later, I got a call from my mother. She sounded hopeful, like she was on the verge of tears. I listened as she expressed her joy at my invitation. But then, she asked the one question I wasn't ready to answer. "Are you really not inviting Katie?" My stomach dropped. I knew this moment would come. I knew my mother would try to convince me to invite her, but I wasn't prepared for the anger that surged through me when I heard her voice, pleading for me to forgive Katie. Katie had ruined my life, and now my mother was asking me to act like nothing had happened. She was asking me to pretend that everything was okay. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not inviting Katie. And I don't think you should come either if you can't respect that." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could hear my mother struggling to find the right words, but I had already made up my mind. This wasn't about forgiveness. It was about protecting myself, about not letting my past dictate my future. The call ended with my mother in tears, and I knew I had made the right choice. But a part of me still felt hollow. Could I really live the rest of my life without my family? Without Katie? As the wedding day approached, I tried not to think about it. I spent my days choosing flowers, deciding on the menu, and finding the perfect dress. Paul was always by my side, supporting me through every decision. But even though I had Paul, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The day before the wedding, my maid of honor, Rachel, threw a small party to celebrate my last night as a single woman. We laughed, drank wine, and talked about the future. It was the happiest I had felt in years. The next day, I stood at the altar, looking into Paul's eyes, surrounded by friends and family who truly loved me. I felt at peace, despite the absence of my mother and Katie. After the wedding, things started to settle into a new routine. I was happy, truly happy for the first time in years. But then a call came. It was from my mother. My heart sank when I heard her voice. She told me that Katie had attempted suicide and was in the hospital. She begged me to come. I didn't know what to feel. Katie had caused so much pain, so much destruction, and now I was supposed to drop everything and go to her? I couldn't. I had spent so many years,